Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. A major topic that has been on the lips of many expats, locals here in Thailand, especially people in the tourism sector, is when is Thailand going to reopen? And by Thailand, we're kind of talking interchangeably with Bangkok here, or perhaps more accurately or more specifically, the quote-unquote red zones, dark red zones, however you want to look at this. Supposedly, I shouldn't say supposedly, there's been a significant amount of discussion regarding when, if, and how, and under what circumstances, Bangkok especially, and thereby kind of opening up really the whole country in a very real sense, is going when this is going to happen for vaccinated tourists without substantial quarantine. And we've done a number of videos on this thus far. But this video, I want to be clear, I think there are those that may think I'm making this video in an effort to intentionally be controversial. That isn't the intent here, actually. I'm genuinely asking the question, why is this the case? And I'll get to this as we get into this. But so just to provide a little backdrop here, back in June 2021, the Prime Minister came out and said, look, 120 days and we're going to get things reopened. And that was kind of the roadmap, and that's what we've been kind of operating off of. Here, now we're sitting here, mid to late September 2021, and there seems to be a lot of confusion regarding reopening. So to start with, a recent article from the Bangkok Post, that's bangkokpost.com. I've been keeping track of this a lot throughout a bunch of different parts of the press, but the Bangkok Post seemed to have, basically on a continuous basis, provided, to my mind, the best sort of string, if you will, on the narrative as to what's going on here. So again, from BangkokPost.com, article is titled, "Bangkok Hurries for More Jabs." Quoting directly, "A political tug of war may be the key factor determining when Bangkok is allowed to reopen to fully vaccinated tourists." Quoting further, "On Wednesday, the Tourism and Sports Ministry and the Tourism Authority of Thailand held a meeting with the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration and Bangkok Governor Police General Aswin Kwanwang. Directly after this meeting, Tourism and Sports Minister Pipat Ratchakiprakan insisted the Bangkok reopening date be set for October 15. Quoting further, "However, on Friday, the Bangkok governor asserted the city should not be reopened until residents have a 70% vaccination rate in order to ensure sufficient immunity." And I keep wondering where these numbers come from, these percentages and numbers. I haven't been able to find, especially in a lot of the Thai press, the sources for how they come up with these numbers and exactly where these numbers are coming from. So suffice it to say, I'm just going to go ahead and quote, and folks can look into it further on their own. Quoting now from another article, October 1 reopening up in the air, again from Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com. Quoting directly, "The Public Health Ministry on Thursday addressed concerns raised by academics over the government's plan to reopen the country to vaccinated foreign tourists starting next month. The plan is in line with the pledge which Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha made in June to welcome vaccinated tourists within 120 days, as we noted previously. However, some critics, including academics, have said the government may be acting too early." And again, they just say academics. I couldn't find anything where specifically we were looking at who or, Quoting further, "Commenting on issues surrounding the plan, Deputy Prime Minister and Public Health Minister Anutin Chanwirakul yesterday said medical experts in the Department of Disease Control must decide whether the country is ready to reopen." Okay. So a couple of things. First of all, and I don't want to get in too deep with respect to the history of the current government. We all know the history with respect to the current government. That said, in 2019, an election was held, and the current government was formed as a result in a coalition that has basically been governing, to one degree or another, basically the same, although some personnel have shifted around, basically governed since that time. So Prime Minister Prayut and Deputy Prime Minister and Public Health Minister Anutin are both part of the elected government. It seems that they are moving toward getting things reopened. As noted in the previously quoted information, in the previously quoted articles, the Bangkok governor, Aswin Kwanwang, it kind of has different views on this, I guess. And just to kind of put a fine point on that, quoting directly from a recent article, again from the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com, article is titled, "Reopen with Caution." Quoting directly, still, Bangkok Governor Aswin Kwanwang insisted he never set a deadline for opening on either October 1 or October 15th. The city, he said, is likely to reach the target of 70% vaccinated by October 22. Quoting further, the governor insisted it is he who has the authority to decide when and how the capital will reopen. Now, I'm really confused by this because, first of all, understand, generally speaking, for those who are unaware, the Bangkok governorship is an elected position, and it has been up until a few years ago when Police General Aswin was appointed into that position. So that was an appointed position at that time, and that's what happened there. Now, to the best of my knowledge, there's been no election held in the interim. So this is an unelected person that is, quoting directly from the Bangkok Post, he never set a deadline for opening on either October 1 or October 15. Well, as we noted previously, the Prime Minister made those statements back in June of 2021, citing the 120 days, which culminated with October 1 of this year. And then quoting further, again from the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com, the governor insisted it is he who has the authority to decide when and how the capital will reopen. Well, it was our understanding, we did video on this going back into the summer, that all of the powers with respect to this had essentially been voted over to, or had been delegated, if you will, or conferred upon the Prime Minister, that ultimately the Prime Minister, who again in 2019 became Prime Minister in a coalition government, which came about as a result of that election, that he was ultimately the one who made these decisions. And so I mean, again, I'm not asking this to be controversial. It's simply, from our recent research, it just kind of begs the question. And further on that note, again from the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com, article is titled, "Reopening of Capital, quote, must be safe," unquote. Quoting directly, and this is a quote within the article, "People's safety comes first in reopening plans," unquote, Dr. Apisamai told a daily press briefing on the coronavirus situation. Again, Dr. Apisamai, and we've talked about this in other videos, that's the assistant spokesperson for the CCSA. Again, I never remember there being any sort of elections associated with this. Now, we've been hearing this word safe constantly. And yes, everybody wants to try and mitigate as much danger as possible. But, I keep thinking of that. For those out there who watch this channel who are Game of Thrones fans, there's an exchange between the Hound and Brienne of Tarth, where they're talking about Arya Stark, and Brienne of Tarth says, "I have to get her to safety," and the Hound says, "Well, safety, where's that?" And I'm redacting, I'm definitely paraphrasing here. There's a lot of expletives in there, and but the point of the quote is, well, where is safety? There's never going to be 100% safety with respect to anything or anywhere or anyone for that matter. Now, of course, reasonable measures need to be taken, but as I've stated at length on this channel, we've been locked down here since April of 2021. And, business is fully shut down. The economy just really in a bad way. This notion of an almost, for lack of a better term, an obsession over safety seems to me to be a bit counterproductive. Okay? One man's opinion, maybe reasonable people can disagree on that. But again, just to kind of reiterate the point of the video, I just can't figure out, to me, it seems from clearly an outsider's observation that the elected government is moving in a certain direction. And then there seems to be this kind of countercurrent, if you want to call it that that seems to be running in another direction. And it begs the question, why is that happening? The prime minister and it seems the cabinet, seem to be trying to move things a certain way. It appears to me that it's trying to move toward reopening. And then there's this kind of pushback, and it seems to all be coming from, unelected sectors within the apparatus, within the government apparatus. And it really does beg the question, why is that occurring?